This is the entrance to St. John's College, my college from the time that I came up at 18. It's the second richest college in Cambridge. It's has made a large amount of money from accumulating property over the centuries. And it's by far the largest, with the largest number and range of buildings. It's has its own share of beauty and monstrosity, as we'll see. This is the third court, which is where I had my first room as an undergraduate. I lived in that staircase over there, and at that time there was no running water in the rooms. The bathrooms were in that corner over there, and we had to sort of schlep out in our bathrobe in the morning to get a wash. This is the Bridge of Sighs, a covered bridge after one of the same name in Venice, where prisoners were taken. It's the link between the old and the new part of St. John's College. In the 19th century, much of this area was swamp and had to be drained. And when they started to build New Court behind us, when they drove the first piles, the piles just went glop and disappeared. And so they discovered they couldn't build on piles, and in the end they built the whole contraption on floating logs. Believe it or not, they did. This whole Victorian monstrosity, which is a sort of workhouse for students, was built on a float. And over here we have the Wren Bridge, Christopher Wren, and beyond it the Wren Library, which is really beautiful in Trinity. We've seen New Court as a facade dominating the backs with its great wedding cake, and I just wanted to show you the inside, to show that the architecture is entirely concerned with an ugly combination of ostentatious facade and functional use. This courtyard here simply doesn't work in terms of scale. It's crowded in, and what you will see when we go behind is that this was quite a cynical exercise in maximizing room space for students and dons, which reveals itself when we go to the back as really another variant of the Victorian workhouse. So this is the dark underbelly of the facade that dominates the backs. It's the rear view of New Court, and it shows basically what it is, which is a dormitory. And we finally look at the Cripps building, which was built in the 60s. I was one of the first occupants. It was built to an extraordinarily expensive standard and yet 40 years later, look at it. It's not very impressive, is it? This is a conference center, the Fisher building, that was constructed somewhat later in the 1990s. All these colleges, when they were established, were all basically trying to renew what they saw as the highest mission of the university in their own particular way, coming from where they came from. And in the face of what was always the case, that Cambridge and Oxford and other institutions like them always contain a vast majority of establishment deadheads. I mean, you know, the function of the university is so easily diverted to the maintenance of inequality. And it's so much easier to pursue a career path which is based on doing what is required. Almost every time in its history, Cambridge it consists 80% of time-serving establishment intellectuals whose only purpose is to serve the perpetuation of an unequal society. But it's also a place in which 20% or thereabouts are allowed to pursue some new possibility and in their own way to re-establish that connection with the pursuit of universal knowledge in which European universities were originally founded. But I would simply ask you to look around you and say, who's the 80%, who's the 20%, and which one do I want to belong to?